Welcome to the Blanco Wellness Podcast. Thank you for being here. Take a breath, settle in, and let's sit with a question that the modern world works very hard to prevent you from ever asking. Think about the last time you bought something you had really wanted. There was a period of anticipation beforehand, the looking forward to it, the imagining of what it would feel like to finally have it. Then it arrived. And for a while, it was genuinely good. You noticed it, appreciated it, felt the satisfaction of the wanting having been met. Then quietly and without announcement, something shifted. A few weeks passed, maybe a few months, and the thing that had felt so significant became simply part of the background. Ordinary, already there. And somewhere beneath the familiarity, a new wanting had already formed, something bigger, something newer, something that promised to deliver what this one had delivered, for a while, before it became normal. Most people have experienced this cycle many times. The interesting question is not why it happens. The mind adapts to new conditions remarkably quickly, which is both one of its great strengths and one of its quiet traps. The more interesting question is what the cycle reveals, about what we are actually chasing. Because very few people are really chasing the thing they think they are chasing. Underneath the pursuit of money or status or the next acquisition, there is almost always a feeling being sought. Security, perhaps, or freedom, or the particular ease that comes from feeling like you finally have enough. The object is just the current theory about how to produce that feeling. And the reason the theory keeps failing to deliver permanently is that the feeling was never actually stored inside the object. It was never going to arrive by that route, which is why the route keeps needing to be extended. The Buddhist tradition noticed this pattern with unusual precision, not as a modern observation about consumerism, but as a fundamental feature of the untrained mind that was just as true thousands of years before any of the current conditions existed. The teaching describes desire as behaving like fire, responsive to fuel, temporarily satisfied by it, and then hungrier than before. This is not a condemnation of desire. Wanting things is part of being human. And some desires point toward things that genuinely matter. The teaching is about what happens when desire becomes the primary strategy for finding contentment, when the assumption underneath daily life is that having more will eventually produce the feeling of enough. That feeling, the Buddha observed, does not live at the end of the acquiring. It lives in the relationship you have with what is already here. There is a Taoist story that has survived for centuries because it asks with considerable gentleness the question most people avoid. A fisherman was sitting peacefully beside a river one afternoon, having already caught what he needed for the day and simply resting in the quiet. A prosperous businessman came along and, seeing the fisherman at ease, asked why he was not out catching more. The fisherman asked what more would bring. More fish means more money, the businessman explained. More money means a larger boat means a bigger operation means real wealth, and real wealth means one day being able to sit peacefully beside the water, without a care in the world. The fisherman was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, "What do you think I am doing right now?" The story is not arguing against ambition. It is asking something more precise. Have you identified what you are actually working toward, the feeling at the end of the road? And have you considered whether any version of that feeling might already be available to you before the road is finished? Because the road, for most people, does not end. There is always another stretch of it appearing just beyond wherever they currently stand. And a person who can only feel content at the end of a road that keeps extending will spend most of their life in a state of incompletion, regardless of how much they accumulate along the way. The Taoist concept of Zhizu, knowing sufficiency, knowing when enough is enough, was considered not a limitation, but a form of genuine wisdom. The classical text says it plainly: the person who knows that enough is enough will always have enough. At first this sounds circular, even evasive, but it is pointing towards something that changes things practically. Enough is not a number. It is a perception. Two people can possess identical circumstances, and one will experience their life as abundant, while the other experiences it as insufficient. And the difference is not in what they have. It is in where they are looking. Think about your own life for a moment, not the version you are building toward, but the one you are currently in. How many things do you have right now that a younger version of yourself once genuinely wanted? How many situations you once hoped for have quietly arrived, and already become unremarkable through familiarity? The mind, left to its own tendencies, focuses forward, toward what is not yet there, toward the gap between the current state and the desired one. This forward focus is useful for building things. It is not useful for experiencing the life being built. Those require different directions of attention. The Chinese philosophical tradition describes this through the concept of ganen, gratitude as an active practice rather than a passive feeling that arrives when circumstances are good enough to warrant it. Gratitude in this sense is not a response to having everything you want. It is the deliberate choice to look at what is already present with genuine attention, to receive it rather than to look through it toward what is not yet there. This is a practice precisely because the mind does not do it naturally. The mind catalogues absence. Gratitude is the trained counter-movement, not denial of what is missing, but honest recognition of what is here. Imagine standing in a garden with hundreds of flowers in bloom and spending the entire visit focused on the one empty patch near the far wall. The beauty of the garden does not reach you, not because it is absent, but because your attention never landed on it. Many people move through genuinely rich lives this way. The relationships, the health, the ordinary pleasures of an ordinary day passing largely unregistered, because attention is always pointed at what still needs to be fixed or acquired or resolved. The richness was always there, the attention was elsewhere. As we close today, I want to leave you with a question to carry rather than answer immediately. What if there is already more present in your life than you have been giving it credit for? Not everything you want. That is a different question. But more than you have been noticing, more than the forward-leaning, always acquiring part of the mind has been allowing you to see. Look carefully today. Notice what has become invisible through familiarity. Notice what you once hoped for that is already here, already ordinary, already yours. And perhaps for just a moment, let that be genuinely enough. Thank you for being here with me today. Until next time, be well.